Okay, first of all, the course aimed at helping you, okay, to become familiar with international events and broaden, okay, your perspective. For example, the first assignment reading is about China, right? So we want to understand not just, all the entertaining news, all the sports news about China, but also other things. The second one, help you to develop your analytical ability through discussion of these events. For example, why is China so insecure? I think this is the question we want to ask. Third one, assisting you to apply your knowledge into daily communication. This is very important. Sometimes you read all the events, but you only have the comprehension in your eye reading, or you might understand, but you cannot pronounce the word. If you cannot pronounce the word with confidence, you will not use them in your conversation at all. I'll give you one example. If you have trouble pronouncing some of the leaders of the world, let's say, what would be a leader here? Obama is too easy. I'm trying to think about someone more complicated. Okay, let's say which one is more difficult? Nicolas Sarkozy. That's too easy. Okay, former Yugoslavian dictator. Okay. Milosevic. I think that would be, if you do not, in Taiwan we call 米洛塞维奇, right? But because you think, oh, 米洛塞维奇, but what's the English pronunciation? Milosevic. So if you can pronounce Milosevic, then you can carry on a discussion. You can put that in your daily vocabulary. So that's very important for you, at least to pronounce all the names right. For example, we said Dalai Lama, Dalai. But in English, how do we pronounce it? Dalai Lama, right? So we're going to read about some of them today. So that's important. You have the knowledge, you have the sense, you have some of the things we are discussing, and then you can apply in your conversation. Textbook, mostly I trust these sources from The Economist, New York Times, Washington Christian Science Monitor, which is a very reputable newspaper, but running out of the printed version. Right now, you can only have the internet, okay, e-version now. BBC News, usually the British are better writers than the Americans. So those are the sources. And you need to read and prepare the assigned material. I will help you to correct some of your pronunciation and usage of words, and explaining and analyzing the reading. And you need to raise questions and participate in class discussion. Okay? Also, you will be asked to answer questions. So don't be shy in this class, because I'm just going through every name, every class almost. Those of you who have taken my class before, almost everyone I go through in class. Okay, it's an interactive learning process. So final grade, there will be class participation on the final grade. Okay. I'm going to restore this. Okay, so in order to help you write better, and I will give you the final week maybe to help you to understand the correction of your paper and discuss your overall performance. And one other thing I require this semester is there is a very useful long discussion on the climate change conference put out by the Times magazine. Okay, there are so many different sections. So I am going to give you, put together group discussion and then make you to present each session. Okay, so that's one thing different from the past. We usually pick up important issues, about 5 to 6 issues. Some of the issues, for example, will be like this. Environmental protection, that's always important, including climate change. Korean Peninsula, I think the North Korean leader, okay, Kim Jong-il, always give us some surprise. So hopefully, maybe he will die, this semester. So who knows? There might be something we can read. Middle Eastern peace, always an issue in Iraq, between Israel and Palestine. Cross-trade relation, that's a big issue as well. We're going to, maybe by the end of the semester, we will have an ECFA, and then everybody will become prosperous, right? ECFA, everybody is going to be rich, huh? Okay, who knows? And we're going to have a G20 meeting as well this year. And then we have energy problem, energy issues, democracy and human rights, always big issues. Transitional justice, my favorite topic, transitional justice. Now, for example, the former dictator of Liberia, Taylor, is on trial for crime against humanity. The people he killed in Sierra Leone, the blood diamonds. So that's one. The International Court of Justice also want to arrest current president of Sudan for genocide in Darfur. So those who committed crime, should they be punished? This we call transitional justice. Okay? Very important. And then also disaster economics, okay, become very important right now. We do have a lot of disasters. Who knows? I mean, we missed one during the break. We have an earthquake in Haiti. But, I think the nature is not going to disappoint us. I think in this next 4 months, maybe there's something else happening, right? They gave us a little warning in the Portuguese resort area last week, and maybe there will be something more. Who knows? Maybe in Taiwan there will be snow in April. Some disasters always there. Okay, so we're going to have each reading. We're going to write 4 readings. Okay, 4 readings will be the one you have to respond to the reading. You write 2 pages of reading of your impression, and then each one will count 10%. And then we have a final exam. Then we have class participation that includes that particular report I mentioned. Okay. Any question on this? You can access this. It's on the net. Okay. This is the one I sent you over the weekend. The question is about the reading. What are they afraid of in China? Okay. Now, China has big problem in the past 2 months with the United States. Okay? So we want to know why do they have all this problem and what are they afraid of. Is the sign-up sheet ready? I need to call name. Where is my sign-up sheet? 点名单在哪里? Finished? Can I use it? You can pass it to me. Oh, okay. Very few people signed up. What happened to all the names? Okay. Okay, this one first. Jiang Pei-si. Yeah. You know these two countries, United States and China. What kind of problem, disagreement do they have? What do they have in conflict? One is using chopsticks, the other one is using forks. No, but give me, the source of conflict between China and the United States. Tibet, okay, that's good. Tibet, we have Tibet, or in China, Xizang. Zhang, there's too many strokes. 好难写。林邑，是邑吗 ？Okay, now, in addition to Tibet, what else do they have disagreement? They like each other? The Chinese and the American, do they like each other? Okay, the difference is Chinese have straight hairs, the Americans have the curly hairs. Now, give me one source of their disagreement or conflict. China feel that the Americans are purposely trying to hurt Yao Ming. If you cannot think of any, then I have to assume they are on the same path. They are having a good time. Of course they are not. So in addition to Tibet, what else? Stronger and becoming a threat? Maybe. Okay. So, but why other countries rising? The American do not feel it's a threat. Okay, I think it's a, different values, right? China strong, people worry China become aggressive. So military is threatening. Okay? That's I think American worry. Yang Mingwen. Yeah. Okay. Now, what's the difference between China and United States over Tibet? Americans say Tibet is part of U.S. No. But if the United States said Tibet is part of China, and United States does not support independence for Tibet, why the conflict? What happened last week in the White House? Have you followed the news at all? After the Chinese New Year, occasionally there are some news in Taiwan not about eating. I think all the Chinese New Year is where can you find, how do you make this dish? How do you make that dish? But there's one news that is not eating. Not about food. It's about U.S. White House in Tibet. What is it? Who is the spiritual leader of Tibet? Richard Gere. No. Richard Gere's idol. Richard Gere is our idol, but he also has an idol. Right? You know Richard Gere? Richard Gere is the spokesperson for Tibet. Hollywood movie star, pretty woman, Have you seen that movie? Or maybe you have seen the sequence, the Valentine's Day. Richard Gere. Anyone know? Heard about him? Here, okay. He's the spokesperson for Tibet, but his idol is the Tibetan spiritual leader. So who is the spiritual leader? Dalai Lama. Okay, so he was received by Obama, right? So China was very upset. Say, Dalai Lama is very much like Taiwan's political leader. People call them separatists. Separatist is not as bad as another term. Splitist. Split. 分离主义. Okay? Split. So that's the problem. If you receive Dalai Lama, almost like you are supporting separatism of Tibet. Okay? So that's the one conflict. Okay, what else? Yang Wanling. Yeah. What is it, the conflict between China and the United States? The one every one of you in your generation should know. When every day you turn on the computer, you find that. What's the major source? Like a song. In the valley. Song in the valley. What conflict? Google, okay. Google. Okay, so now, what's the problem with Google? China said we want more, search in Chinese, right? It's all English. It's so imperialistic. Is that what the complaint? What's the complaint of China about Google? Oh, Google about China. Huh? Which one? What's the problem between Google and China? Google said, unfair. You have, what's the other one in China? Huh? Baidu. Baidu is, giving all the assets, all the, is that the case? What's the case between Google and China? Because they try to censor. China tried to censor, like if you type Tiananmen, no, nothing show. Tiananmen, I'm not even typing Tiananmen massacre. Just Tiananmen, nothing come up. Okay, so Google is not happy with what we call censorship. Censorship, 钳制言论, censorship. So what do we have this conflict? Freedom of speech, freedom of press. In a way, it is also freedom of press. So again, it's a value. Tibet is what? Chinese suppression of Tibet's religious freedom or human rights. So values. Tibet is also part of value with the United States. Ling Yourong. Yeah. What else between China and United States? Because Chinese leaders complain, Americans have very little knowledge of Chinese leader. They keep asking, who is who? Comics, economy. Okay, so what's the problem with China and United States in the economic arena? At least there are two things I think you can think about. More than that. Tax. China think American tax China too much. Or American think Chinese tax American too much. Okay, I'll give you a hint. RMB. Rock my boat. What is RMB? Renminbi. Okay, thank you. Renminbi. So, Ms. Lin, what's the problem with renminbi? You cannot use Mao Zedong, the dictator, on renminbi. What's the problem with renminbi? I never thought we will have renminbi on Taiwan right now. You go to Taiwan Yinhang, you can exchange renminbi, right, with Mao Zedong's picture. But what's the problem with renminbi? Okay, just Americans just don't like it. Why don't you use another name? Okay, Huang Yixian. Yeah, what's the problem with renminbi? Oh yeah, China and Brazil said, why don't we just skip the American currency? Huh? Why don't we just trade with each other using renminbi? But that's true. But what's the other one?
Because America wants to renminbi once more.
Okay, they think renminbi is we call undervalued. Okay. Undervalued. Right now, for example, $1 US, I think, equal to 7, less than 7. It's 7 now. Okay, renminbi. But the Americans said the real exchange value should be $1 US to 5. Okay, so renminbi should appreciate at least another 30%. Okay, China would say, oh, if renminbi value, appreciate too high, and then China cannot be competitive. Okay, China's goods will become more expensive, so China would not appreciate its currency. So that's a big problem, similar to the one we have between Taiwanese dollars and the US dollars 25 years ago. Okay. 25 years ago, the exchange rate between Taiwanese dollar and US dollar is $1 US to 40 Taiwanese dollar. And the Americans study Taiwan's economy, said the real exchange rate should be $1 US to 25. Taiwanese said, no, that's impossible. You're going to destroy us, right? But we just keep watching Taiwanese dollar appreciate from 40, 38, 36, 34, 32, and all the exporters in Taiwan say, oh, we're going to die. We need government to help. Intervene, please. And then continue. And they're still there. And now, all the way to 25. Okay, just stop at 25. And then back to 26, 27, now back to 32. Okay, so that's one big problem, renminbi. What's the other trade issue in addition to that? 谢宗浩. What else? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Okay, so we have RMB, now we have IPR. What is IPR? IPR has something to do with pirates. Intellectual property rights. We know China does have a very low regard for intellectual property rights, right? You go to China, they already have the movie have not been shown. They have already copies. I remember I went to Shenzhen. You go to that places, I think it cost me at least 5 renminbi a piece. That's expensive, huh? So, I've been cheated. But anyway, whatever movie you want, they can produce for you. Okay? So China has no regard for that. And Americans, music, movie, all those, they need intellectual property rights, okay, protection. So that's another big problem. China also undersells a lot of products below the market price to the United States. We call it dumping. D-U-M-P. In Chinese, we call this word. So, dumping. That's another trade issue. Finally, there is another trade issue between the United States and China, but it's not about trade between U.S. and China. It's about trade between U.S. and Taiwan. Okay, so what's the big problem? Su Xinghe. Yeah, what's the big problem? China said United States should not sell all the products to Taiwan. You know, Hollywood movie is only for Chinese, not for Taiwanese. Military goods, weapons. Okay, that's a big problem. So sometimes people say the big three problem, disagreement between United States and China are 3 T's. Trade, Taiwan, and Tibet. Okay. So those are big problems. Of course, religious freedom, human rights, always an issue there. But in addition, recently we also have another one, Google. That's freedom of speech as well. And then last December, in the Copenhagen Climate Conference, there's also disagreement there in terms of, you know, we call carbon. And China is calling this new term, right? Carbon intensity, right? You know, basically saying if we have economic growth of 8%, but we do not have the carbon growth of 8%, then we are doing a good job. Okay? So that's how China views, we call carbon intensity. So there's a big problem there. And now they have another big problem with Iran. Okay, all these nuclear weapons in Iran. So lots of issues between China and the United States. But this article is asking why why are Chinese, what are Chinese afraid of? What are they afraid of? Okay. The economy is doing well and politics stable, yet China seems edgy. Edgy means like sitting on the edge, you know, not very comfortable, always worried. So we're going to look at this. Lin Qingnan. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we start with you? The first paragraph. Can you see them? If you cannot, I have to blow up a little bit. How about, ooh, disappear. 500 disappear. 150. Huh? Okay. First paragraph. Yeah.
The protest bring China toward
integration and openness are more powerful today than ever before, said President Bill Clinton in 1999. China then, though battered by the Asia financial crisis, was busy dismantling state-owned enterprise and the push for admission to World Trade Organization. Today, however, those forces look much weaker.
Okay, do you remember this president called Bill Clinton? Said, I do not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. I did before, but I do not have it now. Okay. So you remember that president? I did not smoke marijuana. I did smoke, but I didn't inhale. Okay. So that's Bill Clinton. So good. Such a great politician. Okay. He said in 1999, okay, pulling Chinese toward integration, togetherness, and also open to the outside world, more powerful than ever before, integrating into the outside world. China used to be, we call, isolationist, closed door, like North Korea before, right? Now it's integrating into the outside world and open to the outside world, more powerful than before. At that time, batter, you know, batter is like, you know, you batter up. Baseball, batter. Hit it, right? Hit by the Asian financial crisis. Okay? At that time, what the country suffered the most, Asian financial crisis, do you know? Back in 1997. South Korea is one. Malaysia is another one. Indonesia and Thailand. Okay, these are the four. Okay, and Taiwan. Oh, we did a good job. Right. And then the KMT did such a great job. They lost the presidential election in 2000. I remember my British friends, journalists. They said they have never seen a government doing a good job in the economy and being voted out. Okay. But that's how Taiwan is. So that's our Asian financial crisis. And at the time, also very important thing, RMB again. If you look at Thai currency, baht, or Korean currency, what is Korean currency? Japanese is my name, yen, right? Japanese yen. But Korean is what? Thai is baht. 韩元，好个元不会写。
Korean dollar.
Okay, something in there. What's the English word? Oh, so easy. Won. Okay, that's Korean currency. When I went to Korea in 1996, $1 to 600 won. And when the Asian financial crisis hit, more than 1,400. One time, almost 2,000. Okay, you know how the currency depreciated. Baht of Thailand used to be 1 baht equal to 2 Taiwanese dollars. And then they were like almost 50% lower than Taiwanese dollars. Now it's about the same, little bit smaller than Taiwan. Okay, so all those currency depreciate. What they worried the most was if China also depreciate its currency, renminbi, then they cannot compete. They need to depreciate their currency to make their export very, competitive. And China didn't lower its renminbi value. So they very grateful of China at the time. So that's when China went through during the Asian financial crisis. And China was busy dismantling. Do you understand what is dismantling? Basically take apart, okay? state-owned enterprises, SOES. Okay, so in the future you will see all this term acronym. You know, SOES. That's state-owned enterprise. They are having less and less. Okay, used to have more. 国营企业. But now they, in order to join the WTO, they have to get rid of them. But today, 10 years later, those forces look weaker. 林伟翔, 吴炳佑. Yeah, okay, next paragraph. A spate.
A spate of recent events. From the heavy jail sentence passed on human rights activists to an undiplomatic obduracy at the climate change negotiations in Copenhagen last December, and by questions about the thinking of China's leaders, have their view of the outside world and dissent
Okay.
And dissent at home changed, or were the forces detected by Mr. Clinton and so many others are, after all, not pulling so hard in the direction they were expecting?
Okay, so here we have, what is a spate? Spate, like emergence, of something, together. Just something, a rush of all these recent events. Heavy jail sentences passed on to human rights activists. But I thought this is very important. China has to arrest a lot of dissidents, right? So every time an American official visits China, it will say, because you're visiting China, we will release one, to show that we do respect human rights. But you have to arrest them first so that you have someone to release. So they arrest, like keep it in reserve. So they arrest a lot. Okay, undiplomatic obduracy means kind of stubborn in that direction. China said we were going to keep this, carbon, intensity things. So not agreeing with the United States in terms of reduction of carbon emission in the Copenhagen meeting. Okay, that's the second one. Okay, so only two here, right? Invite question about Chinese leaders. What are they thinking? You are a big power. Please act like an adult. So, question is, has the view of the outside world and dissent. Okay, what is dissent? Dissidents, people who disagree with the government. Okay, those people who criticize, basically we call YY. EE, 好难好。Okay, this is so easy. YY. Okay, EE. Okay, that's this dissent, right? Different views of China, and changed. Have they changed? All with the forces what Clinton observed back in 1999 are not pulling so strong. Means back in 1999, everybody believed China is going to join the world, and now China is probably thinking, no, we don't have to, or a different direction. Later we will read. People will say, are Chinese leaders thinking about maybe gradually they have to democratize their country, liberalize, more respect for human rights? According to this article, they said no. They are thinking, do they need to be more authoritarian? So a totally different view. But by the way, this is economists. Economists are pretty conservative, very critical of China. Okay, so next one. Wu Mengyue. Okay, can you see the early years? minorities. 新疆。turmoil. 刘晓波。Manifesto. Was written, okay. Okay, so early years called reform and opening. What do we call that? Okay, so very important idea. Marked by cycles of liberalization and repression. Okay, what do we mean by liberalization? Liberalization means allowing more freedom. Okay, and one time they have allowing more freedom, so everybody can say something, and then suddenly they repress. Okay, means put down. For example, remember, okay, this is way before you were born, okay, way before your parents know each other. 1982, okay, Chinese suddenly said, "Ooh, all the Western music coming into China is spiritually polluting Chinese mind." Bad, bad. Right, Michael Jackson. That's bad. Okay, so repression. Okay, and Chinese students who have democracy war before and then suddenly being put down. Back in 1986, there was some liberalization and then more repression. So we call cycle. Okay, liberalization and then repression. Okay. Turning point were marked by political crisis. For example, dissident on the streets in 1986 and causing the stepping down of a Chinese leader, Hu. No, not Hu Jintao, but Hu Yaobang. Okay, way back. And then leadership struggles, like in 1989, who stepped down in 1989, Tiananmen Square? 要吃粮，找子阳。哦，你们有听过吗 ？Okay. Anyway, he was the communist secretary of Sichuan province. So he was doing a good job. They, have pretty good harvest. So people would say, "Oh, if you want to find food, go to find 赵子阳。要吃粮，找子阳。Okay, so that's him. Also stepping down, leadership struggles, or both. Now, however, the only big protest movement are repressed, again put down among ethnic minorities. In Tibet, we know Tibet it's coming again, March. But this time is 51 anniversary of Tibetan uprising. Okay, Tibet with Xinjiang last year during the summertime, also a lot of protests. So Chinese big cities, however, are hardly hit by political turmoil. Not like in 86 in Hefei or 89 in Beijing. All this, they are pretty quiet. But suddenly you have Liu Xiaobo. Who is Liu Xiaobo, Mr. Wu? Liu Xiaobo. Yeah. Never heard of him. At least I think, as intellectual in Taiwan, you should learn about him a little bit. He is the one who write a new constitutional charter saying this will be something that China should be moving toward to. They call the 08 Charter. Okay. 中文上这么写的。And China's authorities said, whoa, that's dangerous. This guy is not protesting the government. He's just circulating his idea about a better China with a better constitution. But he was sentenced now to 11 years in prison. The name of the crime, inciting subversion. What is inciting subversion? For example, Professor Yan, last semester in Taiwan, I think I have incited subversion. I don't think it's subversion, but crazy things. I encourage my students to go to Nanliao and become the pirates. Because, from pirates, from Nanliao to China, I think we control the narrowest part of the Taiwan Strait. Any ship going through, we can hijack, right? So that's inciting. What is inciting? Saying, why are you getting such a low pay in McDonald's? Only, $100 an hour. You can hijack a ship, and you will get very good. Look at Somalian pirates. All the women want to date a pirate. So you're here, not doing any. So that would be inciting, 煽动. Subversion, 颠覆, right? Subverting the government. So that's the crime. But here, very important word we call dissident. Okay, we have dissent. That's different view. EEE. Dissidence is EE 分子. Okay, so that's dissidents. So here we have the dissidents. They debate about the manifesto, the reform manifesto. Manifesto is a very important word. Mr. Wu, do you know what is manifesto? Back in 1848, a very important manifesto called Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. Okay, if in Taiwan we are reading back in the White Terror era, I will be arrested for reading Karl Marx. 马克思1848年, what is it? Communist Manifesto. 共产主义宣言. Okay, manifesto is a 宣言. Okay, manifesto. So he had issued a year earlier and had long subsided. What is subsided? Subsided means returning to calm, means gradually die down. Okay, so that debate is not. And suddenly he was arrested. Like he was this 08宪章. Why wasn't he arrested in 2008? Like after 1 year they decided, gosh, this has a lot of impact. So in 2009 they arrested him. Okay, so heaviest known penalty imposed on activists. 1997, some people commit this crime. They've been sentenced to jail, maybe 5 or 6 years, and Liu Xiaobo received the heaviest. Okay, so I don't know, do we have anyone like Liu Xiaobo in Taiwan right now? Probably not. Our government is too democratic, so it's difficult to become a martyr now. 我们现在台湾想要做那种 martyr， 中文怎么讲 martyr？ 烈士好难哦。Right? Someone tried to, persuade our government official by going to Chiang Kai-shek Memorial or Democracy Memorial, right, to sit in, hunger strike, and then suddenly all people are sending, instant noodle, so difficult to be a martyr now. But Liu Xiaobo at least being arrested now, so that's a big issue. I think the question here is, why is China so insecure? Good economy, good, rise or emergence, but somehow they are not secure. Okay, let's take a break and try to finish this one. Not support unification, but you have to know how Chinese pinyin system now. Okay, gradually you will have to learn all this. So first of all, I want to ask you, how do you pronounce this? CI, XI. Empress Dowager. 慈禧. Okay. 这样才And this is correct. 1 or 2? Here? No? 2? 1? Okay. Speaking of the devil, okay, 曹操. These are the 3 dynasties of China. Qi, 宋齐梁陈齐, Qin, 清朝. Okay, 齐秦清. Okay. So gradually you will know, right? This is 赵子阳. Okay. So gradually you will know. It's not difficult. Okay. Where's my sign-up sheet? Somewhere. Okay. I need to call you, so just a second. Let me use it for a while. Okay. 张淑珍. Okay, next paragraph. Where is our paragraph? Here. Ooh, disappear. Okay, here, Ms. Zhang. China.
China has so far survived the global economic downturn with hardly any of the education anyone really quite close among employed workers or jobless university graduates. The economy grew at
The economy.
grew at a very sounding 8.7% last year and is predicted by many to be on course for similar growth in 2010.
Okay, so China survived the global economic downturn. I don't think that you use the word survive if you have 8.7% growth. That is not surviving. That is doing well. Okay? Hardly any of the agitation, people worry, say, what happened if the university graduate become jobless? Okay? In Taiwan, it's easy. If our university graduate is jobless, they stay at home and play with their computer. Okay? But some places they become problem. Okay, so you want to make sure they are not going to be a problem. But a lot of people worry that that might be a problem, but it's not. And the economy very robust, means very strong, 8.7%, and similar growth. Okay, so Ms. Zhang, let me ask you, what is Americans' economic growth last year? Yeah, it's negative. Okay, most Europeans are negative. Taiwan is negative. Right? So China 8.7% is crazy. It's not normal. Okay, so not just survive, but that also become a big problem because with the strong economic performance, China become very confident of itself. So began to challenge the United States, I think. Okay, next one, Guo Junyi. Yeah. Oh, you don't have a copy? So shall I? Okay. Sweeping. Oh, I love this city, Chongqing. Thin. Politburo. Committee. Okay, first of all, have you heard of Bo Xilai in Chongqing trying to hit the organized crime, especially the corruption, and find out the most corrupted people are in the anti-corruption department? Okay, so that's a very interesting, huh? Okay, so sweeping change, due in means coming, it's coming for the senior leadership. So two leaders, right? One is we call the president of the country, or the general secretary of the party. So in China, the general secretary of the party is Hu Jintao. So we call that's Hu Jintao, right? The other one is Zhongli, right? So that's Wen Jiabao. And right now, do you know, everybody thinks China is communist dictators. But they actually have terms. They serve how many years? Do you know how many years they serve? They have 5-year term, and they cannot serve more than 2 terms. And they cannot serve after 70 years old, which means our Xiao Wanchang should step down. Okay. Or there's another guy from the SEC, Straight Exchange Foundation, PK Chang, Jiang Bingwen. Okay. So in China, they have an age limit Okay, it's almost like in Taiwan, in the military. If you're not promoted to certain rank by certain age, then you have to retire. I always worry if we use that to apply to the university. Like assistant professor, if you don't reach associate professor by the age of 40, gone. Associate professor, if you don't reach, full professor by the age of 50, gone. Professor, if you don't reach the distinguished professor by the age of 55, gone. Okay, so that's what they do in China. Certain age they will. So 5 years. So people said China is not having a personal dictator. Okay? Because after 5 years, or the maximum 2 terms, 10 years, they have to step down. So right now, Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao both are going to step down. In 2012 and 2013, and then people said there is a struggle. If there is a struggle brewing, what is a brewing? Milwaukee Brewers. There is a team called Milwaukee Brewers. 酿酒人队. So what do we mean by brewing? Means 假如有 power struggle 酝酿. Okay. So the signs of it are very difficult to detect, to spot. I mean, is there anything there? No, people cannot see. Okay, no struggle. I have my colleague, a lot of them are we call sinologists. What do we mean by sinologist? Sino-Japanese War. Sino-American relations. Sinologist means China specialist. People who observe China. They always told me, oh, there will be a struggle. Oh, Jiang Zemin will have trouble. No trouble at all. Okay. Hu Jintao will have trouble. No trouble at all. Okay. So, right now, who are the leaders we will learn later. But here, there is a guy, a party secretary in Sichuan, in Chongqing here, of Chongqing, Bo Xilai, make himself very popular by attacking the corruption. Okay. I mean, Chinese corruption is very famous. Right? I was a little kid when my father told me all the corruption in China, all the things you do. For example, if I am trying to bribe, some of you here, bring my coat here, and then what do? I just hang in here, and then we continue to discuss, our deal. And then a while later, I come back here and say, I'm going to get my cigarettes, but I'm just packing to see whether you have put the money in there. Okay? If you have put money, you haven't put money, I smoke a cigarette, and then continue to discuss. And then going back for another cigarette. Oh, when the money is there, the discussion is over, right? So that's the one. And the other one is that you have all the traditional Chinese big desks. In the middle of there is a drawer. We can push through there. People, they don't hand you the money directly, but underneath, below the table, so you can find that. So there's a lot of corruption in China. China are very good in corruption. My father used to be an advisor for an overseas Chinese company investing in China because he reads people very well. So he would be sitting there and watching the discussion, and my father will advise the company saying they want money, but don't scare them. They don't want little. Okay, they don't want a lot. Okay, or you can see, from the body language how much they want. My father is very good at observing this. So he got his title is a legal consultant. He's observing all this corruption. So China is very good at corruption. And Bo Xilai campaign, high profile means, in Taiwan we have a lot of high profile prosecutors, like when they try to hit something, they bring news reporter there, to observe, how they try to go to a prostitute place and find out some of the legislators are there. Okay, that's what we call high profile. You bring the, news team. So he raised a lot of eyebrow, means some people begin to worry. What is he trying to do? In Taiwan, we have someone doing that. And now he is now running for the county magistrate of Taipei. He said, I'm going to go up to the mountain and attack the tiger. Right? People say, that's why we call people say, raise the eyebrow. Like, what are you trying to do? Show off. Okay? Show off. Eyebrow means people are not agreeing with you, saying, what are you doing? So he is showing off. Some speculate, means observing that he is trying to be a member of the Politburo. So what is a Politburo? Politburo. Well, in a communist party, according to the party organization, the highest authority of the Communist Party is what? National Party Congress. Okay, so that's the highest authority. But how often do they meet? Every 5 years. Okay. So every 5 years they meet. And how many people? 4,000 or 5,000 people. So how do they make decision? You can't, right? So they said, well, we can't make the decision, but we will elect someone to make that decision for us. So they elect a central committee. How often do they meet? Once a year. Okay? Once every year. So how many people? Maybe 200 some people. That's too much, too many. So they said, well, we cannot make decision that way, so why don't we put power in the hands of the Politburo? Maybe monthly. Okay, maybe yearly. Okay, so Politburo about some 30 people. That's still too big. So people said, why don't we have a standing committee of the Politburo? So here we have about 8 or 9 people meet every week. I think that's more workable. Huh? So here you have almost like a pyramid. But according to China, National Party's Congress, highest authority. Then down. I think it's and this is 中央委员会. So what do we call Politburo? 政治局. Political Bureau. Okay. And then this is what? 常设委员会, 常委. So, 薄熙来 right now is in the Politburo, but he wants to be in the all-powerful standing committee of the Politburo. So, the top 8 or 9 people there. Okay? So that's what the Chinese pyramid of the party. But they said, okay, Chinese said, power is invested in the hands of the people. Right? This choose this choose this, and choose them. But in reality, this one decide who should be here, and this one should but Bo Xilai is one of the most inspiring voices in 2009. Okay, Next one. 王博轩。Andrew Nathan. Xi Jinping.
Vice President, China's next leader is Prime Minister Xi started last year to garner the living nature efforts. Now they start overwhelming part of this community.
Yeah.
Prime Minister still looks at the takeover from Mr. Wen in 2013.
Okay. I think in Taiwan, we seriously pray that Xi Jinping will be the next leader of China because he is learning to be close to peace. Learning to be close to peace. Okay, so I think we want that kind of Chinese leader, right, on our side. So anyway, he said, Bo Xilai made a lot of wave, but he is not going to be challenged to a shoe-in. What is a shoe-in? Like right now, we don't know who is going to run for Taipei, New Taipei City, but everybody believes Zhu Liren is a shoe-in to represent, okay, the KMT. So that's a shoe-in. Almost just, nobody else but him, Xi Jinping, right? The vice president, by the way, he is in his 50, mid-50, about 54. So he will be serving the next 10 years, about the time to retire. Okay. And right now he's the vice president, and then the Chinese next leader. And last year, even though he failed to garner, what do you mean by garner? To acquire, to get the leading military post. Okay. In addition to be the Secretary General or First Secretary or General Secretary of the party, Wu Jintao is also the president of the country, but also more importantly, he is the chairman of Central Military Organization. Let me see, I'm sorry. Committee. 中央军委 okay, 主席. That's a very important one. Remember, when he became the leader, Jiang Zemin stayed one more year as the 军委 okay, 主席. So Xi Jinping has not done that yet. So that's a very important. And then right now, Deputy Prime Minister Li Keqiang will be the Prime Minister. Okay, take over from Wen Jiabao. And those two names you should know. It's like this generation's Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao. Next generation will be Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang. Okay, both are in their 50s. Okay, next one, Xu Wei, Xu Xiaoming, Peng. Okay. Again.
This backdrop of political stability and economic growth. The most credible
interpretation
of the government's recent headline is that the forces pushing its leaders towards greater liberalization. At home, the sympathetic engagement with the West are weaker has been hoped. Nor is there any sign of that the next generation of leaders see their missions differently. As Russell Lee Mills, a Beijing-based political analyst, put it, the argument in policy-making circles where reform is concerned is how much more authoritarian should we be? Not how do we impact on Western-style democracy?
Okay, so backdrop means background. China is politically very stable. There is no, we call, succession crisis. Okay? succession means who is going to succeed which leader. No crisis in China. Very orderly succession. And you have economic growth, 8.7%. So most credible interpretation, what does that mean? Most credible. Almost like believable. Okay, most believable interpretation, of the government. Interpretation, like to explain what the government hardline. Why? Is people say, oh, those forces which push the leader from greater liberalization, more freedom at home, and more sympathetic engagement, means more likely to be integrated into the outside world. Those forces will weaken than before. They were used to have, a lot of people say, China need to be modernized, China need to engage with Japan, with United States, with Europe. China need to be more, to give more freedom to people. But those voices or forces are not strong. And then you said, well, maybe the new generation of leader like Xi Jinping, Li Keqiang, born, right, after the establishment of the PRC. You understand this? How old is PRC? 60 and half. 60 and 5 months. 60 years old. Okay. And both of them are younger than 60. Okay, they're in their 50s. So you think they might be different, but they said no, they don't see their mission very differently. This political analyst said the argument in policy-making circle, means in that area, people who make decisions about reform, is how much more authoritarian should we be? What kind of hardline should we take? Instead of how do we embark to start on Western-style democracy? Means Western-style democracy has no market in China. Okay, Chinese people are saying we are doing well without Western-style democracy. So hell with it. We don't need that. Okay, so that's the reason. We hate to see that because if China is doing well with one party, they will never try to democratize. Okay. Su Xinghe. Yeah. Next one. Tough. Su Xinghe 在哪里？签了名不在？了不起。I'm sorry. 然后简英哲。Yeah. Okay. Next. Tough. Shoddily. Ai Weiwei. Okay, so here he said, if you look at the recent sentences, jail terms for the activists, they are not, really that much different. They are very much the same as the leadership approach to dissent, to different opinion, different views in recent years. Giving people a little bit leeway, saying, oh yeah, we don't want to stifle, okay, 窒息, free discussion, right? People need to be free to express, but we're going to punish those people who stray too far. So it means there is a what? red line, but they will not tell you where the red line is. Okay, if they tell me where is the red line, that would be good, but they don't tell you. Okay, so here, like late last year, 2 being jailed. Apparently, China is trying to what? Deter. What do you mean by deter? Very important word, Mr. Jian. Deter. To prevent, or in weaponry, we are using this. 嚇阻. Saying you should not organize the parents of children killed in 豆腐渣是吧？是不是叫豆腐渣？豆腐渣工程 OK. During the earthquake. Okay. Some people saying, oh, my kids are buried because of the lousy, shoddily built school. So we're going to sue the government for compensation. Some people say, yeah, let's get together all the parents. China arrests 2 of them. But then there's another guy, Ai Weiwei, also criticized, but he was free. So you don't know. And that's the most important thing about an authoritarian government, is you don't know why someone are arrested, someone are not. Okay, if you know, then they are not very powerful. Okay, you just don't know where is that line. Okay, sometimes they leave someone there, but you never know when he will be arrested. Sometimes people commit very small crimes but being arrested. Okay. The unpredictability is the most important art of running a communist government. Okay. Next one, Wang Dazhong. Hey, you know Wang Dazhong is my son's best friend. In China, in the United States, everyone growing up reading the Overseas Chinese Commission 侨委会的中文读书读本，第一个读的中文朋友叫王大中。Okay, very easy to write. Right?
Is that better?
Yeah. You appear on all the Overseas Chinese school books. My kids are thinking Wang Dazhong is their best friend. Okay. Okay.
The coming months are unlikely to see much change, despite boasting of their country's resilience. The face of the global economic crisis. China's leaders still appear jittery. Mr. Wen has forecast that 2010 will see even greater complexity in the domestic and international situation. China's security chief, Zhu Rongji.
No, wait a second.
Sorry.
Zhou Yongkang.
Zhou Yongkang in a speech published this week said the task of maintaining social stability was still extremely
oneness. Okay. The Chinese leader, like Taiwan's leader before, keeps scaring the people. Okay, Taiwanese leader used to scare us, saying, "Oh, if we don't work hard enough, all the efforts we put in will disappear in one day. So everybody has to work very hard." Okay, the same thing in China right now. Like, hey, they're doing very well. Resilience. What do you mean by resilience? Things they are really good in a very bad situation. Continue to work very hard. Okay. 中文不知道怎么讲 resilience 韧性 okay yeah thank you so boasting right they said they're doing well in the global economic crisis but they appear jittery means not very uneasy okay Mr. Wen Jiabao said forecast means predict that 2010 greater complexity in domestic and international situation. We cannot relapse. Okay, that's why I think I grew up in that generation. And one day people said, hell with you. We got cheated by our government. We're doing well. Okay? But that's what China. And then the security chief, Zhou Yongkang, said, oh, the maintaining social stability, I think that's correct, maybe. Looking at Tibet or Xinjiang, extremely oneness. What does that mean? That means burden, a lot of burden. Okay? So still needs a lot of work. China is not comfortable with itself. Okay. Xu Tongli.
Some Chinese economists worry out loud that China's massive stimulus spending might have bought the country only a temporary
reprieve.
Bubbles, they fret, are forming in property markets. Inflationary pressure is building up, and reforms needed to promote sustained growth, including measures to promote urbanization, are not being carried out fast enough. Occasionally, even the government's worst nightmares is viewed as a possibility. Stagflation, a combination of fast rising prices and low growth, might indeed be enough to send protesters onto the streets.
Okay, so economists worry out loud that China massive stimulus spending. What do you mean by stimulus spending? Stimulus. What is stimulus? You try to make people buy something, right? During a recession, nobody wants to spend money. So stimulate means, what did China do last year? Do you remember?
They inject a lot of money into the market.
No, into the countryside, saying, buying electric appliances, you get some rebate. So every, poor peasant who will suddenly say, we need a television, we need refrigerator and all that. That's what we call stimulus spending. Like Taiwan, we did also last year. We gave some coupon, some spending coupon. Okay. So here, they bought the country temporary, means short time reprieve. What do you mean by reprieve? Reprieve is almost like sudden kind of breathing room. It's okay now. So that's a reprieve. Okay? But they said maybe bubble, they worry. Fret means worry, right? Bubble are forming in property market. China property, especially Shanghai, Beijing, crazy. Right? Everyone is hurrying into the new buildings to buy property, and the price can be, jack up very high. So that's a big problem. Inflationary pressure is building up. That's the worry. Everybody worry about inflation, and reform need to be there to promote growth. Also, what do we call sustained growth? Growth. What do we mean by sustain?
That keeps going.
Keeps going. Okay, everybody wants to keep going. I don't know why that's good. Okay. Promote urbanization. I think we understand urbanization. Are not carrying out fast enough. Occasionally, the worst nightmare, mooted. What do you mean by mooted? Not saying. Okay. What is that possibility? Stagflation. What do you mean by stagflation? Stagnant.
Yeah.
Stagnation. Is that a word, stagnation?
Stagnant.
Okay, inflation. Means your inflation usually means that everybody is spending, and suddenly, money does not worth as much, so everything is becoming more expensive. But stagflation means the economy is not growing, but you still have inflation. This happened in 1970s in the United States when the oil price, went up. The economy is not going up, but people pay more for the gas. Once you pay more for the gas, you pay more for anything, like the truck driver carrying food. Everything become more expensive. Okay, so that's what we call stagflation. Usually that's not going to happen, but this might happen. So fast rising prices and low growth. Okay, but China has been what we call. People have been very pessimistic about China for 2 decades, and China has somehow defied them. Okay, what do we call those? We call 唱衰的，有很多很久了。But I think if you continue, one day it will have problem. Then you become a prophet. Okay. So next one, 周佳莹。Abroad. $6.4. Pandering.
President Obama was due to find green and make the
Dalai Lama. Okay, so here, Chinese leaders do not know how to view themselves. You know, they don't know how to cope, means adjust themselves, what they feel to be, and accelerated means adding really fasting shift in global balance of power, means suddenly China is a big time player. You don't even know. Okay, so in China's favor now. So Moses described this as behavior in China ranging from what do you mean by strutting means, you know, we are big now, but then stumbling, you know, means falling down. So example, in January when Americans sold arms to Taiwan, they were a oratorical fury, means they said, you are violating, you know, the One China principle, you are, you know, violating the three communique, and calling the ambassador of the United States for we call a representation. What do you mean by representation? 抗议不是代表. In diplomatic terms, you call the ambassador to the ministry office for representation. Okay, that means, please come here. You know, your government should not do this, do this. Okay. You know, the new American ambassador has been called by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China during the arms sales to Taiwan. And then last week, when Obama met with Dalai Lama, he was called again. You know, he just been. So that's what we call. And then pandering. What do we mean by pandering? Pandering means appealing to, you know, to the popular nationalism at home, like nationalism, 民族主义, very strong at home. So you appealing to them, that pandering, 迎合, but they also remain aware that China has limitations. So, for example, American aircraft carrier Nimitz went to Hong Kong for a port call, okay, 港口访问, okay, and they allowed that happen. They didn't say no, you cannot come because, you know, your president is going to see Dalai Lama. Okay, so that's what I think. China is also more realistic as well. Okay, finally we have the final paragraph. 谢宗浩. Yeah. Grumbles. Nicolas Sarkozy. On Tibet. Okay, the plight means the situation of the dissidents can be confident. Okay, will not keep the world away means yeah, even though China is really repressing the dissidents, but people still go to China. Western businessmen in China complain the barriers they face. Okay, much better than before. I'll tell you one little story. My professor went to China in early 1980. You know, when you went into a restaurant, they charged the foreigners very high price than the local people. They put the foreigners upstairs in one, area. Then the local people, they have different menu, the same food, okay, different prices. So my professor wanted to eat the local price. So he wanted to be in the local area. He said, no, you're foreigner, you go upstairs. He said, no, I want to eat here. And make a really big, scene there. So suddenly the manager came, they felt maybe it's worse for him to cause a scene there than to allow him to stay there to eat in the local quarter. But what they did is they bring in 2 screens to block him from being viewed by local people. Like, okay, you can eat here in the first floor, but your chair here, I put 1 screen here, I put 1 screen here, nobody can see you here. Okay, so that's the kind of barrier. That's a long time ago, but still today, I think there are, I went to China 2 years ago in the summer doing research in Renmin University, and then I turned on my internet connection. They gave me internet connection, but I can only access nccu.edu.tw, my university, because my university is a sister school of Renmin. Okay, I cannot read newspaper from Taiwan. I cannot access Taiwan's government website, not at all. Okay, newspaper like Liberty Times, forget about it. Right? United Daily News, not in the morning, but after they screen everything, you can see it in the evening. Okay? So, big problem. You can go out, but there are a lot of websites you cannot see. Okay? So, barriers. And then from May, China will be visited by a serious foreign leader going to World Expo. What is Expo? Montreal Expo. 现在还有这个 team 吗？没有啊。Montreal Expo became Washington National, become Wang Jianming's team. Okay, so we have to remember Wang Jianming used to be an Expo. No, he used to be a Yankee. Okay, so Expo 博览会, right? 上海博览会 in May. First leader, Sarkozy, going to visit. He was hated by the Chinese nationalists because he received Dalai Lama when he was president of the European Union. So China called off the meeting between China and European Union until recently. Now, China see Expo like Beijing's Olympic 2008 to flaunt its strength, to show off its strength. But Clinton said in 1999, tight grip is actually a sign of weakness. The more you grab means the more you are weaker. So that's the big problem. Now, what's the country going to have the 2016 Olympics and 2014 World Cup? Also mean that the country is going to be a great country. 2012, where is the Olympic game? London. 2016, Brazil. Okay. And 2014, World Cup, Brazil. Okay, so Brazil is really big now. This year, World Cup where? South Africa. South Africa. Okay, the only